when the web of power began to crack, when the truth started leaking from within. Zara, the woman long forgotten, stepped forward, not for revenge, but to reclaim what should have been her all along, a place, a voice, and a victory that asked no one's permission, not even the king's. London's rain falls softly, a conspirator in its own right, quiet, persistent, and cold as the sigh of ancient velvet curtains drawn tight in a palace hall. Beyond, on the city's storied avenues, cars glide through the mist, pedestrians hurry along, but everything is veiled in a gray, dreamlike haze that blurs the edges of reality. Inside the charcoal-hued Bentley gliding toward Buckingham Palace, Zara Tindall sits motionless, a figure carved from resolve, like a marble bust from a bygone era. Her fingers tap the leather armrest in a slow, uneven rhythm. Mike glances over, needing no words. Each tap measures a thought, a strategy forming. Right now, her mind is a battlefield calculating every move. Camilla in the game today, Mike asks, his eyes tracing the gray drizzle beyond the window. Zara tilts her head slightly, not turning to her husband. If she's absent, we're beneath her concern. But if she's there, she pauses, the silence sharp enough to hear a needle drop in the vastness of a royal hall. It's the opening gambit. Mike's lips twitch into a faint, knowing smile. He admires how she views the world as a chessboard, not a battlefield. He loves her icy precision, her silent strength, the way this woman navigates rooms filled with flashing cameras and probing stares without leaving a trace of vulnerability. But today he knows they'll leave a mark, and they'll do it deliberately. The gates of Buckingham Palace creak open with a heavy metallic clank of ancient locks, a sound that echoes like a gavel in a courtroom. A guard in immaculate livery bows with practiced formality, and the car door swings wide. Zara steps out first, as she always does, her steps light, yet unyielding, her silver-gray dress shimmering like wet stone under the dim light. A feathered hat brushes one side of her forehead, a subtle flourish. Every line of her presence declares, I bear no title, but you cannot look away. Mike follows, clad in a sharp black suit with a navy tie, his athlete's build, unapologetic, refusing to shrink in the shadow of royalty. He carries himself like a man who fears no crown, no protocol. Cameras snap like gunfire, their flashes slicing through the damp, heavy air. They cross the dew-soaked lawn, flanked by a crescent of nobles standing in rigid formation. Amid the weight of centuries-old tradition, Zara moves like a ripple disturbing a still pond. An older woman positioned near a weathered stone column calls out, Zara, you're the one we need in the royal fold. Zara pauses for half a step, not turning, but tilting her head just enough for the cameras to catch her chiseled profile and eyes that gleam like polished mirrors. Her smile is subtle, a one-sided curve that reveals nothing and everything at once. Mike leans in, voice low, the game's begun. Across the garden, in a secluded chamber of the East Wing, Camilla stands behind a tall window, a sherry glass cradled in her hand, its contents colder than the mist outside. She's dressed in a deep purple coat and matching skirt, a string of milky pearls draped around her neck like frost clinging to a winter field. An aide enters, voice hushed as if afraid to disturb the air. Ma'am, as per the schedule, they'll approach the fountain, then proceed to the main hall. Camilla doesn't turn her head. I didn't ask for their itinerary. I asked, has anyone taken a stand yet? Not yet, ma'am, but there's admiration from the crowd. Admiration. She sets her glass down on a polished table, turning slowly, her movements deliberate. Sometimes applause is the sound of palace walls being breached from the outside. Zara nears the fountain, where lesser royals and representatives from charitable organizations have gathered in a loose assembly. She doesn't push forward, yet the crowd parts instinctively, like the sea before a prophet. No one speaks the command, but eyes, smartphones, and professional lenses all pivot to her, drawn by an unspoken gravity. Charles won't cut our rolls, Mike whispers, his voice barely audible over the murmur of the crowd. He's too cautious to pick a side. Zara replies, her tone soft as a shared secret. He doesn't need to choose. He just needs to concede. Inside the palace, King Charles III sits alone in a tea room, the light from a tall window casting his shadow, long and faint, across the emerald carpet, a specter of a fading era. Before him lies a handwritten postcard, an unsent invitation to Zara for a private lunch. He studies the words inked in brown. Meet me to understand what I seek. No title, no promises, just family. He exhales a weary breath. Zara, that name, never caused ripples, until it began to shift the tide. The garden party winds down, but the night is far from over. In a discreetly rented office near Kensington, Mike opens a laptop and slots in a secure flash drive. A live media dashboard flares to life on the screen. Idriyer Zara, 112% mentions in the past 4 hours. Tweet about the princess without a throne, trending at number 3 in the UK. LGBT plus communities sharing a video of Zara's handshake at the event gone viral. Zara enters slipping off her feathered hat. Her hair falls loose, her cheeks faintly flushed from the cold. She doesn't ask for the numbers she doesn't need to. Camilla was watching me at the fountain. Did she smile? No. Her face was cold as ice. Good. Ice cracks if you strike the right fault line. Zara pauses, her gaze distant, then says abruptly, "Do you think I'm becoming the mother I once resented?" No, Mike replies firmly. "You're becoming the mother she never had the courage to be." Mike takes her hand gently, his eyes steady and resolute. Zara knows her husband, a man of few words, but each one a pillar shielding and uplifting her through the tempests of their world. She smiles softly, nods in acknowledgement. Mike helps her craft a concise message to Charles's most trusted aide. Zara accepts the lunch. No advisors, no press, just them. Zara gazes out the window where London's lights begin to twinkle in the dusk. "A place in the family," she murmurs, echoing the invitation's words. But no one said. Whether it's a seat at the table or a stance on the battlefield. Clarence House, Thursday. The sky is clear of rain, but heavy with portent, as if the heavens themselves are holding their breath for a meeting that will never appear in royal records. A faded red carpet stretches along the east corridor, laid out at dawn. The doorman wears an older-than-usual uniform, not for ceremony, but for secrecy. In this palace, silence is the foundation of every maneuver. Zara enters without announcement. She was born within these walls, knows every creak of the polished floorboards beneath her heels, every echo that lingers a beat too long where someone might be listening in the shadows. "East tea room," she asks. "Awaiting you," the butler replies, his face a mask of neutrality. King Charles III stands alone, as is his custom, by a half-open Victorian window. He's dressed in a champagne linen shirt, a navy tie knotted precisely, and holds a steaming teacup. A father, a king, a solitary figure caught in the delicate balance between those roles, unsure where one ends and the others begin. When Zara steps in, he doesn't turn immediately. Only when her footsteps halt 3 paces behind him does he speak. "I thought you'd wear something more symbolic." "That's for the public's eyes. Today I need my father." She settles into the brown leather chair across the tea table. Neither speaks for a long, deliberate minute, the silence thick with unspoken stakes. "Camilla doesn't know you're here," Charles says, his tone almost confessional. "William's summoned to Windsor this morning, conveniently." Zara's lips curve into a faint, knowing smile. "You're clearing the board." "No, I'm avoiding collisions, but that can't last forever. Collisions test a system's resilience." Charles pours tea for both, his hand trembling slightly, not from age, but from the weight of a shift he cannot halt. "What do you want, Zara?" "No throne. No title. No budget. Then why are you here to be here?" He sets the teapot down with a soft clink. "You already are, not officially. And official is what makes power tremble." Zara lifts her teacup, her eyes never leaving Charles's. "I don't want to be queen. I don't need a crown. But I want my name in the minutes of the meetings that matter. Why? Because without it, everything I do is labeled reckless. But at the table, I can contribute more effectively than anyone bound by blood or rank." Charles falls silent, his thoughts drifting. He's heard these words before in a different voice. Anne, Zara's mother, once spoke with similar conviction, rejecting titles for her daughter to keep her free of the crown's weight. "You're so much like her. She chose to stand outside the game. I want to play within it." He retrieves a thin envelope from the desk drawer and slides it toward her. An honorary role on the National Olympic Council as a royal representative. No salary, no legal obligations. But your name will be in the official records. Does Camilla know? No. Then I'll accept, but with one condition. Charles's brow furrows slightly. What condition? Call it representative, not honorary guest. The word doesn't change the role, but it changes how the world perceives it. Meanwhile, at Sandringham, Camilla takes tea with a trusted tabloid editor. A double-sided dossier secured with a gold clip rests on the table between them. Its cover reads, "Zara Tindall and private investments in British sports conglomerates. Conflict of interest." The editor hesitates, his voice cautious. Ma'am, this is all drawn from public records. I'm not asking you to invent stories, Camilla replies, her tone smooth as silk. I'm providing a lens. She twists the sapphire ring on her finger, her smile calculated. They call her the people's princess. I see her as the architect of a subtle power grab. The press moves swiftly, as it always does, sniffing out stories and spreading them like wildfire across the digital landscape. That afternoon, a flurry of posts erupts online. A journalist tweets, Zara Tindall's excelling in sports, but if she's to represent the Royals, shouldn't her private contracts be more transparent? A brief article in The Spectator muses, from public relations to political power is Zara Tindall building a parallel empire. Hashtags like Wash's Zara investments and your royal conflict begin to trend, their origins shrouded in ambiguity. In the car on the way back, Mike checks his phone, the blue glow illuminating his stern, weathered face. Zara leans against the window, the city unfolding before her like a chessboard lit by glowing pieces. They move faster than I anticipated, she says. She doesn't fight with swords, she fights with suspicion, Mike replies. Perfect. Suspicion is the public's addiction, and it fades quickly. Zara opens her phone. A new message from a BBC editor. If you have time, we'd love to profile your new role. No edits, no censorship. She smiles faintly, a strategist's smile. No need for declarations, just presence. That night in a small office at Clarence's house, Charles reviews tomorrow's Telegraph front page slipped to him by a discreet aide. A radiant woman in an elegant navy suit beams under sunlight, a face he knows intimately, yet now feels strangely foreign. The headline blares, Zara Tindall, a royal without a title but with undeniable influence. He closes his eyes and whispers to himself, the shadow has taken shape. London's skyline lights up like a high-stakes poker table, its administrative buildings glowing white against the dusk. But Zara knows the real power lies in the dark spaces between the light where moves are made unseen. On the 6th floor of a private media studio in Soho, Zara strides in her cream blazer, free of any royal insignia. Her assistant has arranged a clandestine meeting with the production team of Hard Questions with Amira Khalid, a talk show renowned for its unrelenting questions and a broad, impartial audience that spans the spectrum of public opinion. There's no need to shield my reputation, Zara tells a lighting technician, her voice steady. Just make sure the spotlight hits when I speak the truth. On the set, Amira Khalid studies Zara, flipping through a notebook filled with meticulous notes. They're calling you the Shadow Royal. You know that Zara smiles, a glint of defiance in her eyes. I'm not hiding, I'm just standing off the main stage. And now the audience can see exactly where I stand. What's your goal in this new role beyond chasing fame? I don't want fame. I want the public to see what's been kept in the shadows. Are you saying the monarchy needs to be more transparent? I'm saying any system that thrives on opacity will eventually crack under its own weight. I don't want it to collapse. I want it to evolve into something stronger. As the show goes live, social media erupts like a digital wildfire. Zara on Hard Questions vaults to the #2 spot on Twitter UK. A clip of her speech spreads rapidly. I don't represent what the monarchy has been. I represent what it could become. Within 4 hours, dozens of organizations spanning sports, women's rights, and advocates for royal reform amplify the content, sharing and resharing her words across platforms. Mike at home receives a call from a BBC assistant. We'd love to interview you about the behind the scenes. What drives a former rugby player to support his wife's navigation of a throneless power struggle? Mike's brow furrows, his voice clipped. I don't support her, I'm her teammate. He ends the call abruptly. Outside, the sky is clear, no rain in sight. But he senses it, a storm is gathering on the horizon. Zara steps into a discreetly rented apartment in Notting Hill. Her assistant places a thick dossier of public sentiment analysis on the table before her. She doesn't touch it, asking only one question. Has Camilla made a move? Not yet. She stayed silent. Zara exhales, a strategist's sigh, laced with the knowledge of what's to come. When those in power go quiet, they're not retreating, they're reloading. St. James's Palace, where dusk falls earlier than usual, casting long shadows across its ancient halls. In a sealed room tucked behind the library, a space where no agenda is ever committed to paper, Camilla sits at the head of a table surrounded by four trusted operatives, a lawyer, a media strategist, a press liaison from the Times. Agatha enters the tea room, her demeanor brisk and professional, delivering her report. She went live on air and said things that have the House of Lords shifting uncomfortably in their seats. Agatha, 62, a former defense editor, now manages the Queen's media grid. She maintains a private office, a map studded with pins, and a meticulously curated list of journalists, social media influencers, and political allies divided into three categories: loyal, neutral, and to be neutralized. Camilla seems unsurprised, almost expectant. She blows gently on her steaming tea, her eyes fixed on the window, where the world outside darkens. Zara wants to position herself as the truth beyond the institution. We'll reduce her to what she was, an athlete, nothing more. Three strategies are laid out on the table, each as precise and cold as a judicial ruling. First, Agatha says, her voice flat as a machine reciting data. We recommend that BBC and ITV bar Zara from any live broadcast for at least the next 3 months. Camilla doesn't ask for justification. She understands Zara is seizing the narrative not as a princess, but as a figure beloved by the masses. If she continues to dominate the airwaves, the younger generation will see a titleless Zara as their true representative, overshadowing those who wear crowns. Second, the lawyer says, sliding a printed memorandum across the table. The Queen's office will issue no confirmation of Zara's role as a sports envoy. No press releases, no royal signatures. We remain silent, letting her appear as though she's claiming authority without sanction. Camilla's lips curve slightly, a faint smirk. Silence, when wielded with precision, cuts deeper than any public rebuttal. No one denies Zara's actions, but no one endorses them either. And so her every move becomes a question mark, a trap the public cannot escape. And finally, Agatha says, gently pushing a yellow dossier toward Camilla. We've compiled a detailed record of Zara's sponsorship deals since 2016. Nothing illegal, nothing damning, but arranged in the right sequence, released at the right moment, through the right channels. The public will start to wonder, why is a woman who once endorsed luxury cars now representing the British crown? Camilla lifts the dossier, its weight deceptively light. She knows that if deployed correctly, it could unravel a carefully constructed image campaign that Zara has built over 2 years. Good, she says softly, her voice barely above a whisper. We don't need to silence her. We just need to make the world doubt every word that comes out of her mouth. 3 weeks after her television appearance, Zara's presence vanishes from the major headlines. Her public schedule evaporates from news cycles. The BBC quietly withdraws an invitation to appear on a program. ITV cancels a segment at the last moment. A school foundation severs ties with her, no explanation provided. Zara isn't surprised. She's been cast as an outsider before, relegated to the edges of the royal sphere. But this time, she's prepared her strategy, already in motion. In a dimly lit basement cafe in Bloomsbury, she meets Jahan Malik, the director of Bright Steps, a community organization focused on education equity. A man of South Asian descent, Jahan once spoke at a Windsor conference on fairness in education, but was overlooked by royal media for lacking the aristocratic polish they prize. Jahan regards her warily over his cappuccino, his voice low and measured. I'm not sure I want my organization dragged into your royal power games. Zara doesn't blink, her gaze steady as steel. Then don't call it a game. Call it a platform where I can use my influence to amplify voices your system has ignored for too long. Jahan's lips curve into a reluctant smile. This isn't your operation. It's a network built by minority communities, and it has Prince William's patronage. I know, Zara replies. And that's exactly why my presence ensures they can't marginalize you. 3 days later, the Bright Steps website is updated with a new announcement: Zara Tindall, honorary co-patron. Charities in West London's districts quickly share the news across their networks. Community groups once wary of the monarchy's aloofness begin to embrace Zara as a bridge, a figure who connects rather than condescends. At Clarence House, Camilla learns of this development from a morning briefing. The organization's name is unfamiliar, but its logo is unmistakable, a project under William's patronage tied to funds from Clarence House itself. She wasn't authorized, Camilla says, her voice tight. She didn't need to be, Agatha responds. She was invited by a third party outside the royal media structure, but within William's community fund. She slipped through a back door, At Sandringham, William concludes a meeting when his private aide delivers a report Zara appeared at the first Bright Steps fundraiser. No press release, no official live stream, but videos recorded by parents are going viral on social media. William's brow creases. What was she doing there? She didn't mention the royals. She spoke about children's mental health and about feeling invisible in a system that demands silence. She's talking about us, William says, his voice heavy with realization. Mike meets Zara at their private apartment late that night. You've made your move and they can't block it. They'll counter, Zara replies, her tone matter of fact. True, but this time they can't accuse you of exploiting a title. You have none to exploit. Camilla receives a screenshot from the Bright Steps event. Zara stands beside a 17-year-old Somali girl, the first recipient of a Bright Steps scholarship. The girl embraces Zara, tears streaming down her face. Zara returns the hug, gently smoothing the girl's hair and wiping away her tears with a tenderness that feels raw and unscripted. It's a moment of pure humanity. What could capture the public's heart more powerfully than this? Camilla remains silent, her only response a single tap on the table. The People's Princess campaign. It's reignited, she says, and this time it doesn't need television. All it takes is a smartphone and a story authentic enough to resonate. The apartment is shrouded in darkness. London in March carries a colder bite than usual, and the gloom surrounding Zara isn't merely the absence of light, it's the disorienting weight of being pushed off the board. On the table lies a newspaper, its headline vague but barbed, sponsorships titles, and the 2012 Golden Steed. Zara stares at a photograph from 13 years ago, her arms wrapped around a horse's neck, clad in Olympic gear, with a car brand's logo looming in the background. The article doesn't outright accuse her, it poses questions, and that makes it more dangerous than any direct attack. Mike stands by the window, hands braced against the frame. He's been scouring online comments all morning, his silence heavy with thought, until he suddenly slams a fist on the table. Camilla's made her move. No statements emerge from William or Clarence House, but social media is a cauldron with hundreds of comments bubbling up every minute. No title yet. She's representing the royals. We thought she was different. Now I'm not so sure. Zara doesn't cry. No one can tell if it's resilience or if she's simply run out of tears for betrayal. I thought I was playing chess, she murmurs, her voice barely audible. But she's playing a piano and every note sways the crowd. Zara leans back in her chair, her eyes shifting from pain to a cold, calculating glint. She opens her phone and pulls up an old post about a charity patronized by Camilla, one that was quietly investigated for misused funds, but never publicly exposed. Fine, she says, as if speaking to herself. If she plays the melody of doubt, I'll compose a symphony of truth. Mike looks up, his attention caught. Zara is texting not to the press, but to a contact within the Royal Audit Office, attaching an overlooked internal document from years past. I won't need to say a word, she continues, her voice steady and precise. I just need to place the right question, in the right hands. 2 days later, an anonymous memorandum arrives in the inbox of the Public Finance Oversight Committee, accompanied by a brief note. Please review the 2014-2016 budget of the Cambridgeshire Learning Trust. That same day, a veteran journalist from The Guardian, once barred from Clarence House for asking questions, two-pointed posts on his personal account. Some budgets are never audited, and some people believe they're never questioned. No names are mentioned, no accusations are leveled, but the press seizes the thread and The Guardian launches a dedicated series investigating opaque spending in royal-affiliated charities. The articles spread like wildfire, drawing the attention of both the public and Parliament. Camilla is formally requested to provide detailed records of her charitable activities spanning the past 10 years. Her once loyal allies begin to distance themselves, and the carefully crafted image of the model Duchess begins to fracture in the public's eyes. That evening, Camilla attends a hastily organized fundraiser at the Victoria and Albert Museum. Golden lights cast a warm glow on her meticulously styled hair, her smile the product of 3 hours rehearsal before a mirror. In her hand, she holds a 2-page speech, its key phrases, bolded: community responsibility, public trust. This isn't a charity event. It's a calculated effort to shore up her image, a gamble that the press's silence will hold for one more night. But as she delivers her opening line, the atmosphere in the room shifts. Under the golden chandeliers, reporters from major outlets, once compliant, rise to their feet. They don't wait for the scheduled question and answer session. They don't hold back. Can you explain the discrepancies in the 2015 financial reports? Why were charitable donations funneled into an unregistered trust? Are you aware that some of your patronized charities are now under investigation? Camilla falters, a fleeting jolt of shock crossing her otherwise composed features. She grips the wooden podium for stability, but the questions come faster, relentless. A young reporter raises her hand, her voice sharp with indignation. If Zara Tindall is being scrutinized under a microscope, shouldn't those holding real power face the same level of examination? The room falls silent for a single, charged moment. Then the camera flashes explode. The question didn't require an answer. It was heard by the entire world. A week later, in the lingering chill of London's early spring, Zara is summoned to Buckingham Palace. The meeting is clandestine, arranged through a private aide to King Charles, who has remained silent throughout the entire upheaval. Inside the old study, the air carries the scent of aged parchment and mint tea. Zara enters, offering a respectful bow to the king. Charles regards her teacup in hand, his weathered face no longer etched with exhaustion, but illuminated with a quiet clarity. They call you the royal without a title, he says, but you've done what few in this family have ever dared. You've turned the game around with grace and cunning. Zara sits, her demeanor calm, as if a great weight has been lifted from her shoulders. But Charles isn't finished. I allowed them to try to silence you. If I remain silent now, the fault lies with me. From a polished wooden drawer, he retrieves an envelope sealed with the red wax of the royal crest. Inside is a formal decree: Zara Tindall, permanent royal envoy for sports education and children. No aristocratic title, no throne, but a fully sanctioned role granting her authority to spearhead international campaigns on behalf of the crown. Zara takes the envelope, her fingers steady. No tears well in her eyes. She offers only a quiet, resolute smile. This time, I won't need to step out from the shadows. The announcement is made on a tranquil afternoon in Windsor. No flags are raised, no cameras broadcast the moment live. A simple press release is issued. Zara Tindall will serve as a special envoy for the British Crown in international programs for community sports and education. The public response is subdued, not a roar, but a ripple. Yet every major news outlet carries a single resonant line: when trust triumphs over control. In Notting Hill, Zara switches off her phone and steps onto the balcony of her apartment. The air is cold, the wind sharp as a blade against her cheeks, but for the first time in weeks, she doesn't shiver. She stands tall, as if drawing in the city's new rhythm with each breath. In the distance, warm lights glow from countless windows, homes still clinging to the old order, while she has just tilted a system long thought impervious to change.